This fucking podcast is about.
All right, let's get started. We are on episode 48 of the podcast. This is our usual Friday afternoon time slot. How's it going, Steven?
It's been good. It's been busy, like super busy. To the point where, like, when you're so busy that when new things come at you, you just literally, they don't even register. Like they're like nothing. Yeah, that's kind of what my week was like. Which is actually kind of nice because like there's so much shit you can just ignore. Or I mean, like you can't, you don't have the time for it. Like, so.
The feeling of busy?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a feeling just like anything else? Because like you could have a lot of shit to do but not feel busy, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel busy all the time, but I know it's probably a symptom of the fact that I literally just procrastinate all the time.
Yeah.
But like, is busy a feeling just like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like the feeling that I have a bunch of shit to do.
I think it's more on like the spectrum of overwhelm. I think when people say busy, like, I feel like my life is just one gigantic overwhelm meter.
So overwhelm, is that a feeling then?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a feeling. I think that's what people mean when they mean busy. Like some degree of overwhelm, Is
that optimal?
I think, yeah, a low level. It's just like even a low level anxiety, right? Is optimal. Low level of overwhelm, I think it means you're like stretching in some way.
Is it possible to get a lot of shit done but not feel busy? And what would that look like? Because I do think you know how sometimes, especially when you have ADHD, you require that last minute burst of motivation where you're like, shit, I gotta get all this done in an hour to like even get started. So there is something to be said about that emotion in itself. Whatever that last hour, like, I'll have an hour to finish this emotion is, that motivation. Yeah. So like feeling busy perhaps is like a lower degree of that.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't get myself to do work unless I have that feeling.
It sucks.
Is that bad?
It sucks for me. It sucks for me to have to be like that, for sure.
Is there a way to fix that? I mean, I've definitely tried.
Yeah, well, there's an ADHD trait that we haven't talked a lot about clinical ADHD. I think we kind of talked loosely about how we feel and what we have to go through life. But one of the well-described symptoms of ADHD is hyperfocus. And I don't know if you experience that. I certainly do, right? It's where you have like this intense interest in this one thing and you basically drop into a flow state and you forget to like eat, drink, or whatever. And you do get things done. Now, it might not be the thing that you needed to get done. It might have been something completely opposite of what you needed to get done, but it's just what held your interest. I don't know if that you've related to anything like that.
You mean like going down like some stupid rabbit hole?
Yeah, but going deep and like like you wish you could focus on the things you actually needed to do the same way you focus on this thing, which is why ADHD folks have a reputation of being like eclectic and knowing a lot of random shit, and not just superficially, right? Like a bunch of random shit, but like at a deeper level, even because that rabbit hole, they went down that rabbit hole. So, I'd say one of the strengths of it. It's one of the rare times. So, like outside of emergency situations, hyperfocus is probably the only other time we like naturally do things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when that happens for me. Yeah, it'd be really, life would be so easy if you could just focus on the things that you like want. I guess want is like, I don't want to say want because I don't actually want to focus on work. I just have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it is want though, right? It's the reward system, right? The motivation, the reward system, like delayed gratification. So normal, like neurotypical people don't. They can motivate themselves because they know why they're doing it. Like you work because I want this, but for us, it's like work has this intangible, random benefit far out in the future. Um, it's not material in the real time, in the present moment.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me the people that can actually just like work on
Just do
things.
things.
They're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I'm just gonna knock on my to-do list now. Let me just go get that done. And then they just spend a couple hours and then they just clear everything they need to do and they're like, oh look, I've finished everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I've
Yeah.
never gotten a feeling of, yo, I finished everything. Must be great.
Must be great, right? Must be nice. Yeah.
Sometimes things fall out of importance because I didn't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just stop mattering.
Yeah.
That's always
Um,
interesting.
it is really interesting, and I think having been through it enough, you can, like, for me now, if I ever start to feel like overwhelmed, experience tells me that like I literally can just drop everything because I've had a record of like dropping a lot of that stuff, and you know what, still here, life goes on. So, but I
Yeah, so
think
nothing.
for younger people who haven't been through that as much, like it's awful, right? To kind of watch those things drop off real time because you couldn't do it. They just die.
But you probably get better at knowing what you can drop and can't drop as well, whether it's conscious or not.
Yeah, I think so. It takes time though. Um, yeah, it takes a lot of time and practice.
And like who you can drop things around.
Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty funny, man.
yeah. The only time I've been able to make it work outside of those cases we talked about are one where I literally have created this like robot persona that I become. Like if there's something I really don't want to do and I know I have to do it, and I know it's like a sub 5 minute thing, I literally just kind of pretend I'm a robot while I'm doing it. And I just check out and I just do it robotically and pretend I'm a robot. That's one way. And then the other way I've kind of gone around it too is, well, this is where like the whole like kind of self-authoring stuff really comes into play. I found out if I could write a storyline about why this thing mattered, starting at the highest level, and really, really like put my heart into that, like it made, it made doing things easier because I just knew how, like for example, um, when I got back from my Asia trip, my first time I went to Asia by myself, solo backpacking, like 2013, 14, right? And I realized how much fun I could have in Asia, and like how much the value of a dollar was here. I was able to budget and do all of these things that I wouldn't normally otherwise be able to do because I knew that if I did it, I could go on another Asia trip, right? And then so that it made all of these things much easier for me because the prize was so awesome. Like it was so fun. So
Is that like alignment towards like a long-term goal type of thing?
yeah, I would say
You know how
so.
like when you talk about, let's say Muay Thai, you have a fight off in the distance, but it's like, okay, in order for me to be right, like right for this fight, that has to be the number one priority, and then everything falls into place around that. And I don't think it makes it, well, maybe it does. I mean, obviously, it doesn't make it any easier to, like, diet, exercise, and train and all that stuff. But, well, it probably makes it easier in terms of if you're motivated because you have this long-term thing. That is easier because you're like, oh, like you feel the motivation for this thing. Rather than being like aimless, kind of.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'd say so. And then you also gotta like break up your goals where you have certain ones that cash out daily, ones that cash out weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever. Because if you wait for like a long term one, you're just gonna lose motivation, right? Like you need pats on the back on the way. You need like things to kind of keep you going. But yeah, I think it's very related. But it reminds me though, what maybe a little bit different from just goal setting though is like there's more of an emotional texture to I think what I'm trying to say, which is like it's stuff that I actually really like emotionally wanted. It was like fun. It was what I chose. No one else told me like, hey, backpacking in Asia is really fun, right? Like it was all like my thing. So, and there's a line of thinking that procrastination and motivation and all that, and ADHD is actually a big component of it is emotional regulation. Like your procrastination is actually an emotional problem. First and foremost, like the way you're framing the way you feel about the work that you need to do, and where you're at and how you're making progress on it. It's just about if you can sort through your feelings, you can also help unlock getting over that procrastination paralysis. Why am I avoiding this? Why? Like, why am I avoiding this? Is there something there that's making me not do this? Want to do this?
So, okay, let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
You said that the Asia trip or backpacking through Asia is something that you emotionally felt attached to, like that made it so that you were naturally motivated to want to pursue this thing. As opposed to, let's say, a long-term goal, which is like slightly, I guess, like less emotional or less emotionally motivated, I guess. Shouldn't your long-term goals be stuff that you pick that you do have an emotional, like, hey, I really want to do this. That's why I'm planning 5 years out to get this thing. It's kind of like you emotionally feel like you want to do this thing, and then you build a goal around that, as opposed to just picking some arbitrary, like, oh yeah, I want this, but like, what I'm trying to say? It's like not the feelings come first. So if you feel like you really want to do this thing and it takes 5 years to get it, then you're motivated, but then you build the goal system around that thing that you're already feeling.
Yeah.
So they're intertwined in a way.
They are absolutely intertwined, right? Which is why, like if you find yourself in a position trying to give career advice to somebody, especially someone who's younger, like you can say, do what you love and very emotional, or do what like is reasonable and something you can kind of tolerate or will pay well and has like whatever, right? The answer is somewhere in the middle. And I think that if you are a good coach or a good mentor, you can help tell them that message that it's like, look, it's this weird mixed thing, but don't overthink it. Like if it's like a 60-40 split between, heart and mind, like give 60 to the heart, try it out, because that's the only way you're going to know if you actually really like that thing or not. Because a lot of times, right, people think they like things until they actually get it, and then they realize they don't like it, right? They don't like the things that it comes with. That is like an ironclad law in my book. And so I think you're right; they're absolutely intertwined. it's about picking it though. It's so hard. I mean, you talk to people, like the hardest question is, what are you passionate about, right? Or what is tolerable enough for you to like where you have a 1-to-3 ratio of bad days to good days, or good days to bad days, something like that, right? Like maybe that's worth it. Like sometimes I frame my job in that way. I'm like, oh, if it's 1 good day to every 3, that's actually not a bad ratio for like a shitty, like a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's 1 to 3, but I'm just throwing that out there. But you know what I mean? Like, but the ones are high. Like, it's like you fucking knocked out of the park. You delivered for a customer. You secure the deal, and you're like, I love this job. I'm the best at this job. And then the rest of it's doing paperwork and fucking deal with people's bullshit, right?
So basically, you find better ways to gaslight yourself.
Basically, that's what this all is about, man. Life is
like, yo,
we're done.
This is great. This is great right now. I can't believe how great this is. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, like, think about fighting, for example, right? I train for hours and hundreds and hundreds of hours for, if you're an amateur, like 6 minutes in the ring, 6 to 10 minutes in the ring, right? And whether you win or lose, people don't give a fuck the day after. Like, the day after a fight, the day of before the fight, the day of the fight, and the day after the fight are so funny to me. Like, I always love those, especially the Monday after, where like, especially the Monday after where I won, right? It's like, yeah, and then it's like, oh yeah, back on everyone's back on their bullshit now. So like that's just life is just made up of like, I don't know, yeah, small highs, journey not the destination.
Yeah, I guess you do get to decide what matters.
Yeah. There's another phrase I like, which is like, you don't actually want, like whenever you decide you want something, you don't actually want the thing at the end of that thing. Like that's a fallacy. What you actually want is just a thing to want. Like that's human nature, right? You get the thing, you're going to want the next thing, you'll be dissatisfied. Like you just, what the real thing you want is just a thing worth loving or wanting, a thing that you can constantly chase, like that you'll never get almost, right? And you constantly have to go after, because that gives you purpose. It gives you an alignment. Otherwise, your purpose, like nothing matters, and there's no alignment toward anything.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just having something to aim at, I think it's kind of like what humans do to like be able to like see something in your head and then manifest it in the physical world is like it's like a human special ability. Like a bird flies, a human can visualize things and then manifest it.
Mm-hmm.
And so without that, then there's probably, I don't know, you're probably leaving something on the table there.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what, like, the number one symptom of, like, all the mental illness that's going around the world is because people don't have the ability to manifest their goals, right, and feel good about themselves. Because the world is not built in a way anymore where what you do immediately, like, you don't get direct feedback from the world anymore, right? Like back when we were hunter-gatherers and living in nature, anything you did was immediate, right? I caught the fish, I didn't catch the fish, right? I plowed the dirt, I didn't plow the dirt, like all that kind of stuff. Like instantly, like I knew where I stood in relation to the world. But now everything's so abstracted that like people are just lost, And so there's two ways to help people, right? You either help them be better at achieving goals, so they can build up their self-esteem, worth, confidence, and all that kind of stuff, and tap into that biological mechanism. And the other thing is the Buddhist thing, which is like also teach them how to be just fucking chill with absolute boredom and nothing, because that's what modern, like, like in nature, there's not a lot of like nothingness. Like you're always on edge. You're always on. Like So our biology wasn't made to be like for leisure. So then I think things like meditation come up. It's like, all right, now that we have the privilege of leisure, this is how we can deal with it. I hope this stuff makes sense. Friday, long week.
No, I'm sure it makes sense. I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Damn. So does that mean we have to want things?
Yeah.
Is it better to be able to get the things you want, or to figure out that you actually want less?
Both.
Oh,
they're both. Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah. Like, I think it's both. So I think it's very useful to say this. It's human nature to want more, always. Like, that's just, like, when I look at around an animal, you look at animals, you just look in nature and you say, oh, it's natural that fish swim and birds fly and whatever, right? Sun comes up. It's also nature for humans to want more, and to be dissatisfied with what they have. And so it's like, yeah, so if I'm a human, I should like work on that. I should always kind of be trying to satisfy the moreness, right? Now, I shouldn't set it up where what I want more of is unattainable and unrealistic, right? And out of my control. I should pick something that I want more of that I can actually manage, that's within my control, right? So, I mean, that's why everyone thinks that like Buddhists are passive and they don't do anything. But I mean, look at it. Like they've developed, like a lot of the monks will develop meticulous art, right? And they'll always want to improve their art, right? They have bonsais and gardens and like, you know what I mean? They have structured meditations and they cook and like everything. There's a moreness, but it's more like in depth, like a lot of this East Asian cultures, they're just they're still progressing. This idea of progress, I think, is inherent to humanity, and you can't stall it. Like, like understand that. Don't let the progress torture you, but know that, yeah, you should always be doing something. The goal is not to not work. The goal is to find the right work.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's super hard. Yeah, it's super hard.
What rung of Maslow's hierarchy do you think you're most focused on nowadays?
Self-actualization. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting which rungs we're generally focused on, because you think about, like, I mean, my parents for sure were more focused on the first 3 rungs, but that builds the foundation for the 4th and 5th one. What's the 4th one? The 4th one's esteem?
Can't remember. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom one's definitely survival, so it's like food and stuff like that. And the second one up's like security, safety, so like having like a home. And the 3rd one is relationships and love and stuff. So like friends, family, and significant other. I think the 4th one is esteem, like being respected by your peers at the shit that you do, I guess. And then the top one is self-actualization, which is like fulfilling your highest potential as a human, I suppose, which is a lot harder to obtain. I wonder if somebody can achieve the top one and like skip a step. I mean, theoretically, no, right? I mean, that's what Maslow thinks.
Well, I don't know about skip, but like to your point, you can make all of your needs smaller so that you check off that box, right? Like we actually don't need that much to survive, right? Shelter, got, minimum amount of calories a day. It doesn't even have to be super like nutritious. You can like get to self-actualization with very little if you make what you want small enough, right? And that's a valid approach to life. And I think that's arguably the best approach to life, right? Is to keep those expectations small. It's about what you can do in a day, even if it's just I went for a walk and I said hi to my neighbor, right? That how tiny is that? But that can be a resounding success if like that's the whole of your life. So
I wonder how many people get self-actualized.
very, very few, I would say. Yeah. Just by definition.
Is it not possible for everyone to get self-actualized?
I think by definition, no, right? Because it's like a statistical definition almost.
Is it?
I'm not saying that in a strict way, but like I'm saying that like more metaphorically. Like okay, there's a mountaintop. I mean, that mountaintop cannot have everybody on top of the mountaintop.
Does self-actualization just involve reaching your fullest potential? Or is it like being the best at this thing?
I think it's the former, if I had to say. Yeah.
But can't everybody technically reach their fullest potential then? Rather than like it's not like there's only like one guy that wins it all.
Right. So yeah, I think I'm explaining it. I think my answer is not to say that it's not possible. Like, okay, what if we all became monks? Like literally every single like an entire country of people who decided they would take up like that type of monastic living. And we all agreed, hey, of course it's possible, but then you got to talk about, I don't know, how a society like that would function, right? And how big
I'm trying to think in terms of like a microcosm. Let's say there's like a world like 100 people.
Yeah.
Like, can all those people be at their fullest potential?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you could see it with small like tribes and communes and stuff potentially, if they live in depending on their environment.
I wonder what I have to do to be self-actualized. Seems like a pretty big task. Should probably put it on my to-do list behind all the other shit I have to do.
The easiest thing is to make everything small, right? Be minimal.
How hard would it be for you to live without your phone for like 30 days?
I think I could do it. Like completely without the phone?
Yeah. I forgot my phone at home the other day.
Mm.
And then I was running late and I remembered my phone basically like in the driveway as I was pulling out. But I was like literally going to be late.
Yeah.
If I went back. I turned out being late anyways.
Right.
But I had like a 50-50 chance of being on time. But if I went back in my house for 2 minutes to get my phone, I would 100% been late. So I left without it.
I like this idea of you kind of, once you remove like artificial supports around you or enablers or whatever, that you fall to your natural level of competence, right? Like I think that's an interesting one. Clearly I'm medicated, which allows me to live a pretty fruitful life in modern society. Like I have friends, I have a good job, whatever. But like, what if I wasn't medicated, right? I would naturally fall to my level of competence, and that just be what it is. Just like when people delete social media now, you realize like your only real friends are the ones that you actually still talk to, despite you fall into that level of like relational, whatever network. So yeah, whatever happens would be interesting. Like maybe I don't travel as much. I can't go as many places because I'm constrained. And Steven was never meant to go that many places with his phone, and run so many appointments and go,
Yeah, the phone's definitely an interesting tool in our toolbox, I suppose.
Yeah. Like I don't have a good sense of direction. It just be over with, like, but I know a lot of people have natural sense of direction. Even though they grew up in the same digital ages, like they're just really good at it. So yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. Yeah. Do you want to do that? You want to do like these like imposed handicaps like we did?
No, I definitely don't need to be handicapped. Well, I was wondering if like it could be a positive for me because I do get distracted a decent amount on my phone.
Mm.
It's definitely easy to go down some rabbit holes.
Yeah.
When you do have your phone, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, like this thing does connect you to everything, which is a net positive if you use it correctly by like a decent amount. But that'd be interesting to like get off my phone for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably still have to be on my computer and shit though.
One thing that's been interesting is I've been trying to work with myself more instead of trying to like change myself. That's been something that's been interesting. So like if I am going to waste a lot of time on my phone, I just go, oh, Steven is going to waste a lot of time on his phone now. That's what Steven does. Steven's doing what Steven does. And I would just like for a second pop out of my, first person, take note of it, and then waste time. And then when I get out, I'm like, oh, Steven finished. He's done wasting time now. Like, what is he going to do next? And then, I don't know. It's helped me like kind of just like, I'll think myself, if that makes sense. Like, just parent myself. Because like if he wants to stay on his phone, you're not going to like, you take his phone away, he's going to be pissed.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was trying to do an exercise the other day where I would fill out exactly what I did for every 30-minute block of my day. But then it probably would have been like I started it. Well, okay, so I was gonna start it in the morning, and then it was like 12, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I already wasted 2 hours. I didn't do what I said I would do."
Yeah.
But then I had all this fucking shit to do before 3:00, and then I was like, "All right, I'm gonna write everything I do every 30-minute block." But then it was weird because I didn't end up doing it.
Yeah.
But because in my head I was like, I'm totally gonna fucking do this, and I had full intention of doing it. I like literally stopped fucking around and just focused for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, if I'm like, hey, Steven, how about this? Let's just write down everything we do for every 30-minute block, and we'll just share it in a group chat or something like that.
Yeah.
That shit starts to get pretty embarrassing sometimes. When it's like, you know what I mean? You can imagine what that shit would look like. It'll probably be like, all right, stared at my phone for 30 minutes, went to go eat a snack. Next 30 minutes, went back to my computer, watched a YouTube video.
Oh, man.
But that might be a fun exercise.
Yeah. So there's another guy that I used to read a lot of his blog. He's a James Clear type of guy. And he wrote this really good article. It's like, if you want to change your behavior, the first thing you got to do is just record it. No judgment, no pressure, no anything. Like, just the simple act of recording it is going to deliver so much insight and influence. And it definitely makes me think of that. it made me thought of a sick level up to that accountability hack, which is like um, we FaceTime each other at random points in the day, and you have to pick up. Like you have, like, you know, I mean, you obviously don't have to pick up, but you have to have a good reason. You have to explain why you didn't pick up. You know what I mean? I'll be like on my side like this watching TikToks, and then all of a sudden I get a FaceTime from you, and I'll be like, "Damn, do I need to sit up before I take this?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, right? Immediately, like, "Oh, I can't take this lying down. Oh, let's sit up." Like,
So, hey, what are you doing, man? So, I'm just getting some work done.
yeah. Oh, how funny it is that we lead these like private lives like that, and we all do it, but we just, I don't know. It's just kind of just
we should do a
over
weekly
it.
challenge. We should bring back the weekly challenge. We haven't done that in a long time.
I think so too. I think that I'd be down for that.
I'd be cool with. I feel like I want to do that recording 30-minute block thing, but I don't know what would be reasonable, because I don't think I would want to record every 30 minutes of my day, but at least like the hours where I'm supposed to be responsible or some shit, like, I don't know, up to like 6 p.m. or something like that. Or at least like my mornings or something. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I get off to like a rough start. Or it could just be at 3 points in the day, we message the other person, and then when the person sees it, they have to respond with what they're doing, and then we start to get like a rough sample size of, like, what if I catch you like just 3 times in one day, just like on TikTok?
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
damn, like, extrapolate that shit. Steven just spent 16 hours on TikTok today. That guy's crazy.
Yeah. No, I'm about it, man. I'm about it.
How good are you with planning out your day in terms of like the hours? Like, do you have a like a planner or something you use, like in the morning? Like, is there a process to plan out your day?
I'm if I'm not fighting, it's pretty loose and fluid. But I think I have a pretty good sense of it. But with fighting, it's very structured, super structured. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to plan my day mostly, but I never hit the plan. Like, it's very rare that I hit the plan.
Yeah. So I have a method. I never really talked to you about this, but like I have like 5 calendars that support the way I work. But my daily calendar is a Trello board where it's just a moving backlog, and all I have to do is get one thing off of the list, right? And then at the end of the day, it rolls over to the next day, right? And it rolls over to the next day, and then over time, it's supposed to get smaller. But the fact is, it stays with me. Like, it constantly rolls over, like, over and over and over.
It's like a Kanban board?
Kind of like Kanban. I don't know if there's actual process for this that's been described, but it's just to-do lists that constantly roll over day. And so I just need to get one thing out of that whole thing. And sometimes that chunk just stays with me. It just moves across the days, but like, and then every once in a while I pick a new thing that comes in. But the rollover days make me feel less stressed, I find. Like at the end of the day, I just look at it and I'm like, ah, shit, there's still a lot here. But then I have to move all cards to next day, But that one's helped me a lot. Might be helpful too.
It's interesting that I'm like so, I guess like disorganized is the right word, but whatever ADHD, like, obviously I've tried like a decent amount to get better at being more productive. So I like know all the best practices and shit. And then I watch these other fucking people that are like just planning their day out with pencil and paper. And like, they don't even know how to use Asana that well. They don't know anything about, they don't know anything about I guess the mainstream productivity, like stuff like getting things done or setting Pomodoros or doing deep work or any of that shit. But they just get all this stuff done. And they just like use like probably some shit that they've been using since like college.
Yeah.
They just write everything they need to do down on this piece of paper. And then maybe they have like a date next to when it's due.
So, it's funny. Nate Ginsburg, the guy we met in Thailand.
Yeah.
So he does his like quarterly planning and so like planning, and he always takes a picture of him when he does it, right? And he has these like colored sheets of paper, and it looks like really systematic and everything, right? And he's a kind of entrepreneur kind of guy. And I remember asking him, I was like, "Whoa, man, I really like the colored paper. Like, can you explain what like method you're using?" He's like, "Oh no, I just got these on sale, and like I'm just trying to use them up." And it's like scribble, and it's like terrible handwriting, and there's no method. I looked at this.
I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, if it
works, it works.
Because the system isn't like if the system is like really fucking good, it doesn't make it that much better if you don't do the work. But at the end of the day, if you get yourself to remember the shit you need to do and then fucking do it in approximately the time that you think it'll take and all that shit, then that's probably the end result that you need, right? And then so I guess for some people, if they're like, yo, I just need to write this down on this piece of paper and then carry this fucking piece of paper around with me so I remember to do it, then that works, right? But
yeah.
Especially with like on a personal level, if you're not working on like teams and stuff, it probably matters a little bit less to be able to use some of the tools, I guess. But but it is interesting because like our friend Billy, like he showed me the way he plans out his quarter. He just has like a Google Sheets thing, and he just puts a couple goals on it, and under each goal, he's like, okay, it's almost like an OKR personally. So like, this is the objective I want to do in 90 days. These are the metrics that will measure that. So it'll be like, I don't know, make like 20 sales calls in a week, make like, write like 2 pages every day. And then from that, he just like pulls 20 sales calls divided by 7 days is however many sales calls. So it's like 3 sales calls today, write 2 pages today and do so-and-so. And he's like, yeah, so if I hit this every single day, then I know in the quarter, then I have. So I'm like looking at it, I'm like, yo, this spreadsheet probably took him like, like 5 minutes to put together.
Yeah.
But it works for him because he does all the shit that he puts on there.
Right. Right. I love that.
And his fucking to-do list is just a fucking running Word document. Yeah. So he just has a running Word document, and it's just like bulleted shit that he needs to do. And then if he doesn't finish it, like he just copies and pastes it onto the next day. And he crosses shit out on the day that he does it, and he just moves it to the next day. Kind of like maybe similar to what you were talking about with your Trello board.
Yeah.
It's super simple though. It is literally like,
it just has to work for you. You just got to find something that works for you. I totally agree that's the main takeaway. Like when I came up with my system, I was like, this is ridiculous, but it works and I'm not going to question it. So yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. I would be interested in tracking my 30-minute chunks. I think that'd be very embarrassing.
Yeah. I think that would be embarrassing. I'd be down. Yeah, we can do it.
All right, you want to have that be the weekly challenge? Maybe it doesn't have to be every single day this week, but like, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely gonna try to do it on Monday. Maybe let's just do it for weekdays or days when we have work, I guess. I don't know.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah. I had the same idea for like food journaling as a way of doing accountability too. You had to take a picture of everything you ate or drank, and then it would share with your friends. That way you could see everything that everyone ate, Because a simple picture is like of your food is very telling of like what state you're in. Is this a cold pizza that was like left over or etc. But I like the accountability piece. I guess is another point. I like embarrassment. I like the fear of embarrassment. That's actually kind of funny because I'm just like can't stop smiling when I think about it. To help drive accountability. Like I'm about that. I think that's very effective for me personally.
It's hard for me to tell like how hard you're supposed to be on yourself for some of these things. Because I do a weekly review session with my cousin Tim, and then Mimi and Vicky, and then Queenie recently joined. So we plan out our weeks, and then we say the shit that we're gonna do this week, what our priorities are, and then we share it with each other in this 1 hour Zoom call that we have like every Sunday. And then usually during the Zoom call, you take a look at your last week and you talk about, why you couldn't get some of your goals done, what habits you said you would do, you couldn't do, what you learned from that, and what you're going to do next week to get better. I'll admit I haven't been the best at it, but I do show up every week and I do have, my questions filled out and stuff like that. And some of the problems it is a little bit embarrassing, like when it's kind of like I'm still dealing with the same issues, like on a 3, and like every week for the last 3 weeks, I'd be like, yo, I'm doing too much work. I have to literally been neglecting all my fucking personal goals because there's too much work at work. So this week I have to set some boundaries. And then next week it's the same shit. But usually within that group, it's very, I would say, what's the opposite of cutthroat in terms of like, yo, you didn't get this shit done? Like, you know what I mean? It's more kind of like, oh yeah, that's just where you're at. So, you know, you have to be okay with that. Yeah. But then that's where I'm at every fucking week, bro. You know what I mean? So at what point is it kind of like, oh, it's like, hey, yo, yeah, I know you said that you meditate for 5 minutes a day, but you just didn't feel like it. So it's okay. And then I'm like, yeah, I guess the vibe of this group. But in my head, I'm also like, all right, man, at some point I need to be like, all right, hack.
You have to graph it. You have to graph it. Like, I think.
I mean, in that group, I don't push back. It's not like I'm like, yeah, man, you did say you were going to do that. So come on, bro. Because that's not the vibe of the group. The vibe of the group is kind of like, oh yeah, it's,
No, I got it. I got it.
Like you did your best.
Right. No, but I'm saying great. Everyone should just graph their results week over week, and then just do a share out. And then, like, I feel like if I, like a flat graph of like, would be pretty motivating. It's like, oh, damn.
Yeah, and the way the weekly review is set up, it's like there's work goals, but then there's personal goals.
Yeah.
I literally am just neglecting all my fucking personal goals because I have so much fucking work shit that I have to stay on top of that I'm not good at, right? But then obviously you learn every week, you're like, oh yeah, I should do something for my personal goals and do less work stuff. You know what I mean? If I was being objective here, if I was someone's coach, it'd be very easy for me to tell them what to do. I'm like, come on, man, that's obvious, bro.
Yeah.
You need to block out an hour a day for personal stuff.
What if we came up with like a point system, right? Where like depending on the type of goal and how hard it is, you get certain points for accomplishing it, and then you just keep tallying the points. And you can map them over time.
Yeah, man.
And then we'd be like,
we came up with a point system. I will have no points. No points, bro.
No points.
Maybe I just have to take more Adderall.
Maybe.
I've been trying to alter my dosage. I've been doing very little though, but I've been doing every day.
Yeah.
So that's been helping at least a little bit. It jump starts me in the morning.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I think hacking motivation and discipline is super interesting because it's just so. I mean, it's the number one thing we personally have dealt with for our entire lives. So you kind of become an expert at that thing in a way.
Does anyone not have to hack motivation? That's something everyone has to do, right?
To a degree, but not to the degree that we're talking about. Like, I think, remember, that's the thing about mental illness, right? All the symptoms apply to everybody, right? But it's about how chronic it is and how severe. Like, not everyone has to hack it like this. Like, not everyone is like struggling this hard just to get some basic shit done. 100%, 100,000%. Like, people just do it.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's a willpower thing, bro.
Yeah.
I get willpower. Okay, so, I mean, look, I know it's a medical diagnosis of ADHD. I know we both have that. But is it like one of those things where you could like get, like, if I was just training my attention every fucking day, unmedicated, could I eventually get like really good at it?
To a degree, right? But if there was another hack that didn't have ADHD, you would not beat him at that. And that's and you wouldn't.
Only if he was trained. Like, can you get back to a baseline?
You could get back to your baseline, I would say. I mean, but it would still take effort. Like, I think the thing is that, like, you can only move your baseline so much. I would say like you can definitely do it, but you've also invested so much amount of effort just to barely, when they say like double down on your strengths, not your weaknesses, like it's kind of that, it's kind of a situation like that, I would ask you this, Hack, like look at the things that are distracting you, right? I think there's a message in there somewhere for you to find. And that's where I've come out, because I definitely was like, oh wait, I kind of did what you said, which was, all right, I'm going to fucking become an expert I'm going to train my focus, with meditation and train all this stuff. Like my willpower is going to be disgusting. Like I'm going to go do whatever I want because I just decide I want to do it. But it still wasn't coming from the right place. It was still coming from like having a slave driver mentality inside my head, right? And that was limiting me, because it wasn't like tapping into like my actual full power. Like I could show up and present like another person, but it wasn't, I was like putting on. And that's where the last couple of years have changed me to kind of be like, all right, how do you like go with your flow of things? And I realized that like I, for example, I get distracted making reels sometimes, or video editing randomly, right? Or just looking at videos. And that is something that I've been doing for a while, and it seemed like a waste of time and distraction because I'm not going off to be a videographer or whatever. But like, because I did that, that's how I have my current job, right? Like I remember in high school, I would pirate Photoshop and just make random things instead of doing my homework. So I think there's something there where like, let your distractions run a little bit more and try to figure out what it's telling you about like your interests and stuff. That's what I'm trying to do for myself personally right now in this quarter too. Like I want to go back to like, like just let your mind go, because, do what you need to do, but try to let it go and see what happens.
Yeah, that shit would probably just be staring at fucking Instagram reels all day.
Yeah, but what are you doing when you stare at it, right? Like, what content are you engaging in? What are you thinking about? Like, what are you doing with it?
I'm watching police audit videos on Facebook. Those videos are fucking funny, bro.
Yeah, they're really funny. I don't know. I find that too. Like, even when I am mindlessly consuming stuff, like I'm still thinking of something. I'm still chewing on something and thinking and refining something, right? I think that's why, we kind of have this pod to begin with, is, like we have a large appetite for things that make our brain like nom on stuff. Even if it's trash social media, like it gives me an opinion on trash social media. Like I'm like, oh, that's what that part of the internet is like. I didn't, that's cool. I know about that now. Like I'm downloading. I'm very much justifying wasting time here, which is a bit of a turn from how we started this pod.
No, you're good, dude. I waste time all the fucking time.
Yeah. Like waste time mindfully is I guess what I'm trying to say, like just be a little bit more thoughtful with when you're wasting time and like why. And like ask yourself, why am I wasting my time on this thing? Like why? It's gotta be a reason.
Yeah, man, sometimes I waste time because I'm tired. Do you get that? Like there comes a point in my day when it's like, fuck man, I'm out of battery. And then I just like go lay down in my bed. I'm like, I'm gonna take a 20-minute nap. Then it turns into an hour and a half. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh look, my phone's right there. Let me just look at it for a little bit. And next thing you know, like 2.5 hours into my 20-minute power nap that was supposed to recharge me, I'm like, all right, I have to go to my flag football game now, or I'm gonna be late. And then I arrive like 2 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You you touched on a very profound point. I think there's an actual name for it when your habits kind of like chain on themselves like that. I actually had a really big revelation this past year where I realized that, so I do have a little bit of chronic like lower back pain tightness that makes it so that like I lay down a lot. right? Sometimes it just gets so like tight. I can't sit up or stand anymore, so I just go lay down, and that's when I fall into my phone trap. And I realized that I was like, why is this so bad? And I realized it's because I have back pain, and so now I'm just focused. Like I'm like so much more aware of it, and I like focus on like it's like instead of like going to lay down, I'll just check on my back, and I'll just maybe do some back stretches instead. But before that, it was completely unconscious, you know. Or when people eat, but when really they're just like thirsty, but they think they're hungry, like you're just misreading a cue, you know.
Oh, dude, I distract myself with eating all the time. I'm like, I gotta get work done, but I should eat something first.
Yeah.
And then you know how that goes.
Yeah. No, I think that's a big point. Yeah. And I have the thyroid thing, which makes you pretty tired all the time too. So that definitely contributes to phone usage. Like, so.
All right, so I'm gonna track my days this week.
All right, let's do it.
30-minute chunks, or like within reason, 30 minutes, hour, like whatever. But like, just like probably like one or two like words. Like, all right, what did I do this last 30 minutes?
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna track the bad things I do.
I'm gonna check the good things too, because there's not gonna be that much of it, so that'll be easy.
Fair. Well, the bad things will be bigger chunks. So
I do think once we start tracking though, the bad things might like there might be less of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some days maybe not, but then some days maybe, like, because the one day last week when I was like, all right, I'm gonna track the next 30 minutes every 30-minute block. I was like, fuck, I actually have a lot of shit to do.
I mean, when we did our first phone screen limiter challenge, I was mortified of having to show you guys my screen time, and that changed my behavior. I was like, I would like sit here on my laptop scrolling Reddit, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm just trying to like avoid being on the phone so I don't have to show them a terrible time. But like,
maybe I should post it on Instagram too. I'll be like, this is what I said I would do. And then this is what actually happened. And it's like scrolling through phone here, and here.
Yeah.
That'd be really fucking embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be people that you would actually like. It can't be that group that you're talking about where everyone is chill. Like, you got to have someone where you'd be like, I really don't want this person to see this.
I mean, it does make sense, you know, like when you're just like, all right, everyone, you did try your best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think some people can like go into like bashing themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that's not healthy either. But I feel like I can bash on myself a little bit and make it healthy. Like, yo, what the fuck, hack?
Yeah.
You said you would fucking do that. now you embarrass yourself and you post it on social media. And everyone fucking knows. And then I'll be like, yeah, you're right. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Good thing I don't care about what anyone thinks.
Right. So we can start to cut now. I know that you wanted to do that 1 hour 15, so we can start to close. But I think it is interesting to revisit how the unique battle that we have with willpower here and there. So this is an interesting touch base. And it's funny that we both had like super busy weeks and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. If we can outsmart ourselves into like figuring this out. Oh,
whoa! Go ahead.
Have you ever had to manage somebody that is like you?
Dude, I have. So I picked up 2 direct reports in the last 3 weeks, and I usually it's not my strength to manage someone. So generally speaking, on my team, I don't do that. I'm like the ideas guy, and then I can kind of like come up with like good processes to like, you know, make it so that other people can run those ideas. But those are my strengths, right? But it's necessary now that I manage 2 people, and they're 2 one kid's not high schoolers. They're like first or second years in college. Or sorry, one of them's like a first or second year in college. The other one's probably 25. And I literally just picked him up. The 25-year-old, I just picked him up, and my first backlog call with him is at 4 p.m. today. and I have to manage him, but I don't think he has the best like work habits.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be really it's gonna, I don't know, it's gonna be like I probably don't have the best habits. He probably doesn't have the best habits, but I'm the one managing him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, let me know how it goes. I've had to do something similar like that before, and it was very illuminating for me because, like, what the fuck? This is
You have any advice?
You just add buffer to everything. Like everything that they say, you add buffer to it. Straight up, like add another 30-40% to everything. Make sure you bake in one review, like a check-in, like.
Dude, I'm making a meet so we're meeting 2 times for 45 minutes a week, at least.
Yeah.
Like that's the minimum, like kind of like to go over your backlog. What you say you were gonna do the last 3 days, and then what did you actually do? And then what are you gonna do the next 3 days? And then I'm sure there's gonna be other shit too going on, but at a minimum.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for sure.
Can you teach someone how to be like organized? Like, okay, look, if someone came to the gym and they were weak, right? I'd be confident as long as they kept showing up, maybe kind of like eliminated some things from their diet and then just kind of like did what I said at the gym, and we would start as low as you need to start. Yeah. Then you would become strong over time. It would not take that long for you to like have noticeable results. Like I would say 90 days consistently, like you would be much stronger and look better if you've never gone to the gym before. Is that possible to do like within a regimen of like, hey, okay, I'm going to teach you how to be organized and actually get better at knocking out work?
Yeah, there's ADHD coaches that do that. I'm pretty confident with a couple of things that I could like help somebody with. Granted, they're more like my template that I feel very strongly about. And I would definitely run them through the same thing that I ran myself through, right? It's little things like this, like here's, and I'm not unique in this. This comes up a lot in ADHD forums, right? It's called the ADHD tax, where because you forget things, right, you end up paying a lot of fines and tickets and forgetting to return things and whatever, right? Like money just leaks out of you because you can't keep up with all that stuff, right? So pay more upfront to avoid losing on the back end. Like that's a straight ADHD coaching tip. I would straight up tell people, like, don't worry about money in that way. You need to change the way you see money. Like you're not saving money in that way, anymore. Forget about it. Like, don't buy fresh vegetables. You're gonna forget to cook them. They're gonna go bad. You're gonna waste money, and then you're gonna feel all bad, and you have to go back to the grocery store and buy some new ones. And you're not gonna throw them away, and they're gonna stink up your fridge and all this stuff. It's gonna balloon into this crazy thing, and then then you're not gonna want to cook because every time you look at your fridge, you're like, oh god. Only buy frozen vegetables. Like, you know what I mean? So there's a ton of hit list items like that where they're just rules. Like you don't do this anymore because your brain doesn't work the same way, And I think strong, agile coaches, work stuff. ADHD coaches, personal ADHD coaches have a lot of, they probably have a better way of attacking those things, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if these kids have ADHD, but I probably do have to be able to teach them some like good work habits. The younger one, the one that's in first, second year of college, she actually stays on top of shit like a decent amount. So it's definitely for like a 20-year-old kid, he's pretty solid. But I think I haven't worked with the older one yet, the 25-year-old. But you know what's interesting? Okay, so when you were talking earlier about what things. Okay, there's certain things that take a lot of energy for me that don't take a lot of energy for other people, right? Obviously, that's probably a lot of things. It's ADHD. But then there's certain times when I can expend a lot of energy and not even think twice about it. But most of those times are usually like playing sports and stuff. And I know it's like playing, but I could literally run around out there until my legs cramp up. But if I tried to do that shit, like, just like working out straight up at the gym, then I'll probably like, yo, fuck this. I'm not gonna expend this manual labor right now. So I don't know. Maybe there's something there about that. And I probably need to figure out something that's not just like sports related, because clearly I'm not going anywhere with sports. That's more of a fun thing.
So, dude, absolutely. That's why I chose Muay Thai, right? Like, it does something in my brain that like I can't replicate everywhere. But I mean, here's one thing. For example, in my work, I'm really, really fucking good at putting proposals together and doing demos and making pitches and stuff. Like, I'm not a salesperson, okay? Like, I'm not like in that way, but holy crap, I can like straight up walk into any room and try to like explain to them why this product that we have is super, and I've gotten a lot of deals that way. And I don't know, it just seems so effortless. It has the time component, presentation component. And so like, I think absolutely, yes. Like, I think you should keep checking that out. Like, what are things that are dynamic, right, in nature that require equal parts mind? Because like when I'm doing these things, right, like I have to talk up front. So it's like mind and body and like new challenges that keep showing up. And they require like a depth of knowledge and explanation that it's very easy for you. Like the ideas guide thing that you mentioned, right? Like, I think trying to extrapolate that out, like, what does that mean? I think that'd be cool, man. Sorry, I just got really excited.
No, you're good. I think I just need to pair myself up with someone that's a lot more conscientious. When I say ideas guy, I do think I'm good at coming up with processes that don't exist beforehand. So it'd be like, hey, yo, we need to do this thing at the restaurant. And it's not obvious how we do it. So obviously, like, you can do it one time, but then the idea is you do it, but then you're able to also train somebody that's lower level than you to be able to do it once a week forever. So there's like a way to do that. That's not very obvious, I think, sometimes to other people. But I think because I'm lazy, I'm always looking for shortcuts. And then so coming up with a process is to make it as easy as shit. That's something that I think, at least within our restaurants and stuff, I tend to lean to.
Yeah. And it doesn't take you as much energy, right? Like, I guess I wanted to get back to that. Because that's when you said that, I think that's a really important takeaway to key into. Which is like, what just doesn't take you as much energy as other people to do? Like,
yeah, for sure. I think that's a natural lens, though, because like, I mean, just thinking out loud, like, I don't have a lot of like for instance, let's say someone like Z works 100 hours a week and he doesn't keep track of his hours. He doesn't care. He will literally wake up and work 100 hours a week, and that's fine because I think he likes it. And I think his edge is that he can work that many hours and be okay. I'm limited. I could probably work a max of 40 hours a week, and probably at least a third of those hours, I'm probably distracted and not actually working. So let's say I'm working like 25 hours a week, but I still have to like, put my work out there. And so naturally I have to figure out how to do things with much less wasted energy, if you will.
Yeah.
And then so it forces me to think of shortcuts, think of like the easiest way to do this. Think about like, hey, what's essential and what's not essential? I have to do, this thing that Z can probably spend 4 hours on, but I only have an hour and 15 minutes of focus max. And then so it turns into like if I needed to turn something into a process, and when you process something, it's a definition of kind of like getting it down to what's essential to carry out this task, explaining it well, and then making it so everyone can do it. So I think because I'm lazy, I could do that. But I think it's really hard for me to explain that to other people on my team sometimes, because they're not afraid of hard work. They're probably like, yo, why does it need to be a process? We'll just assign it to someone and they'll just get it done. I'm like, dog, if you just tell someone to do that thing that you can do because of all this prerequisite knowledge and skill that you have, they're going to fuck it up. So you have to turn it into a process, and you have to understand the process, and then you have to improve the process until it becomes like this little thing where it's like step 1, step 2, step 3, and then anybody could do it. So, I mean, I don't know that it's worth anything, but I think that's where I lean, at least on the current team I'm on.
Yeah, I think so. And it goes back to your original question of like, how can you coach or teach somebody that? And I feel like there's probably something there as well. Like when you have, it's like it's like you said, right? If you are an expert at something and you can see like the highest level of something, right? You can look at a person and give them exactly what they need to get to the next level. And I think that's a big part of teaching and coaching, because you can't give them all the knowledge at once, right? You have to like kind of titrate it out. Like they have to get a little, only enough that they're ready to learn at that point. It's just like Leo and Liana right now, right? Like you have to slowly build up their understanding of something. And so I think it sounds like teaching and coaching, honestly, and mastery, right?
Can't wait to record my 30-minute chunks for this next week.
It's going to be really interesting. I'm down for it. It's going to be interesting to report back. Yeah. 30-minute chunks. Are we starting now? Monday?
We could start now, or we can start Monday. I think on Sunday I do have a lot of work to do, so I'll probably record on Sunday.
Okay.
I actually probably have a bunch of work to do today, tomorrow, and Sunday. But we'll see what I'll start recording. I don't think it'd be that hard to record.
You know what? I think I'm going to make this into a bigger project. I think I'm going to record everything.
Okay.
I'm going to record everything, and I want a pie graph at the end of this to see how I spent my time.
Are you going to do it on paper, or are you going to do it through spreadsheet, or what?
I'll do the spreadsheet. I think you just inspired me. I really need this. I really need to, like, this is how much time I spent with my parents, my friends, working, fucking around, exercising.
I was gonna do mine on paper, but if you figure out a template, let me know. But okay. I'm gonna start with paper.
All right, we'll do. Like I'll probably just I might just categorize. You know what I mean? I might just have categories and then just like drop units, just update units as they go.
There was a Cal Newport.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote the book on deep work.
Yeah,
he did have a method of planning on his day that I thought was really. I tried it. I honestly should have kept with it a little more. But the way he plans out his day is he uses just like a single sheet of paper, just like a standard 8x11, just with lines. And he just writes out, every 30-minute chunk is a line, and he writes out like all the shit he's gonna do for every 30-minute chunk. So it'll probably be like 2-hour meeting, 2 hours of deep work here. Basically like this is the ideal day. But obviously, as you go through your ideal day, you slowly start to like not hit everything, and that happens to everybody. Because sometimes like if you're in a flow, you should work that extra 30 minutes and have it overlap into like lunch or some shit. Or sometimes like you might show up like late, or basically you might have to move shit around. So he says that like a couple points during the day, he'll go back into that one sheet of paper, and then he'll plan out the rest of his day based on what's left. So then it'll be like, let's say the first 2 hours was he hit all the shit he needed to, or let's say he didn't. Then, from 12 to 10, he still has like the rest of his day to plan out. But what that does is it, by the end of the day, he'll probably like planned out his day like 3 or 4 times, but then he aims, basically you have like an aim at something. Did I explain that right?
Yeah.
I tried that for a little bit. I thought that was cool, but I gave that up after.
Yeah, I remember when you were doing it. It sounded very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It was honestly, if I don't plan on my day, it's so weird. When I don't plan on my day, it takes me 5 minutes to plan on my day. I just literally look at all the shit on my calendar, look at the shit I have to do through my Asana, and then fill in like any like personal goals that I set for the week, like small to-dos for that. And I never hit everything. In fact, I probably hit like, on my good days, I probably hit 70 to 80% of the shit I say I'll do. But I've found that on days when I don't plan out, I'm literally just fucking aimless.
Yeah.
And even if I like plan it out for 5 minutes, I don't even look at the shit I wrote, then I'm always much better.
Yeah.
Than not planning at all. So there's probably something to be said about that.
Yeah, for sure. This is exciting. All right. I want to be mindful of your time. I think we're bring back to weekly challenges. I'm excited for this because I definitely need to do a time audit. Because now that
Time audit. That's what it's called. Time
is that
audit.
what it's called? Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
It must be, right? I mean, what else would it be called?
I know, right? Like what else? So, but yeah, now that I have all this time, because I'm not fighting and we have a runway up till, we go back home on Playa. So I'm excited to,
Shit. That's like a
be
month
the
out.
best. Yeah, I know. Be the best version of myself.
Fuck.
So, yeah. All right.
Okay, sweet. All right, let me wrap.
It's a wrap.
Until next week.
Until next week.